You serious?
Hello there, plenty of ways to kill some time out there. Thank you for killing some time with myself, Marcus Bronzy. Now, on today's episode, just want to say, quick one for you guys out there. Stay safe, all right? Before we crack on with today's show, stay safe and keep staying safe in the UK. Today, as I record this, the 20th of April, 2020, there is chat here about the whole corona lockdown situation being really at its peak. And I feel like people think things are going to get better from here. But if we start going outside again, it ain't going to help. So please, I'm not going to have a go at you because I know that you're one of the cool ones listening, right? You're behaving yourself. But I just want to make sure that you're staying safe. We've got plenty of content coming out. We've actually been recording loads of stuff that we're not allowed to put out until it's closer to the release date of certain things. But today, I just want to say I'm really happy I got opportunity to speak to Vero, who's an amazing person working in the forefront and cutting edge of VR gaming at the moment. And I was really happy that I was going to have an opportunity to chat with her. But as I started to research this guest, I realized that this person has done some of the coolest shit. Like, I really want to sit down and have a conversation that was way longer than the one I had with her. I'm about to talk to somebody who has written the first female writer for Transformers, right? Has written content that's ended up in movies, right? Is an absolute Final Fantasy fan in a way that you will only be able to appreciate when you hear how we talk about it. And also stole the file of facts, the details of one of the world's biggest DJs. And then we talk about what she did with it. And she also did PR for one of the most well-known families in the world. All of that is coming up in today's episode. But the first thing I asked Kelly when she hopped on the show was, hey, let's talk about Final Fantasy. I heard you're a pretty big fan.
Oh, yeah, like die hard. Like the biggest fan ever. Like big.
Wicked. So you must have enjoyed the last couple of episodes we've done then.
Oh, I really loved it. Really been amazing. Talking to Brianna, just so good. Like that's what every Final Fantasy 7 fan like wants to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we need
awesome
to know that the story carries on.
Yeah, exactly. And also the people behind the voices, like they really do care about it as well. So
Big time. And that's because the community cares about them. And that's what, you know, when they made Advent Children all those years ago, the community did not even flinch. They didn't say, oh, Square Enix are going to mess it up, because they just knew that Square Enix were never going to mess it up. And then the addition of like the really great voice casting means that they became now like forever part of the Final Fantasy family.
Yeah, it's a big thing to be part of as well. It's
and we never get,
privilege.
I've worked on some killer IPs, but we don't, I find that some of the IPs I've worked on, sometimes you get a bit of friction from the people that you talk to. So they sort of, I mean, I'm not going to mention any IPs unless you press me for them, but sometimes they've sort of said, oh, yeah, so why are you reinventing this character? And it's like, well, because we've got like 300 characters to choose from and we just want to bring this character back to life. Yeah, well, the community don't agree that that's a good thing to do, so maybe you should rethink that. But with Final Fantasy, someone comes along and sort of says, oh, hi, I'm going to be your Aeris for this time, or I'm going to be your Tifa. And they're like, cool, come aboard. You're so amazing. We love you. You're now part of the family.
Awesome. Yeah. And you know what? I think it's a privilege to be someone who's involved at that level as well. Right, real privilege. Good game as well. Is it true you got Final Fantasy tats?
Yeah, I've got like a Final Fantasy sleeve of my battle group. So kind of at the bottom by my wrist, I've got Aeris's flowers from the church.
Standard.
Then I've got like massive cloud in the middle of my forearm. So from my wrist, and it's the Advent Children cloud. So there's loads of pixelation from, you know, the poisoning. And then I've got Sephiroth above in the middle, even though he's not part of the battle group, he's a definite important part of the game. And then I've got Red 13, because that guy was created in a lab, for God's sakes. And then above that, it's really sounding like a complete nerd already. We've only been talking for like 5 minutes. And then I've got Vincent, of course, and it's Vincent from the Crisis Core era. So he's kneeling on a cross looking hella scary yet sexy.
It's a proper sleeve then we're talking
yeah,
wrist.
all the way up to my shoulder. In fact, I saw a
Jeez.
picture of my shoulder the other day, and I was like, and he didn't have a tattoo on it. I was like, wow, I never knew that it looked like that.
Yeah,
Just
that's
things
what
you
my shoulder looked
forget,
like.
right?
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, all right. Well, you're really invested. Well, I'm glad that we dropped those 2 episodes with interviews with voice actors beforehand. But yeah, we're here to talk about you today.
Thanks.
Another thing before we get into gaming, though, is
Yeah,
it true that you once stole a Filofax from somebody?
yeah,
Was
uh,
that person's name Pete Tong?
yeah. A million years ago, like, and I feel like this is so sort of, this is such, I was like a millennial, or like a pre-Gen Zer, because, you know, we didn't have hipsters like back in my day. I know I sound so much younger than I am, but let me tell you, I'm not. And when Pete Tong used to do the Essential Selection on Friday night, obviously that guy was the Don.
Yeah,
And so to get to be in the same room as Pete Tong was kind of like a really massive sort of accolade. My God, you've been near Pete Tong. In fact, I
yeah.
did that Hacienda rave last weekend, and standing looking at David Morales dancing around his little deck was absolutely incredible for me. It made it. But Pete Tong went to the loo while he was doing a DJ set, and Kelly Vero and his sticky fingers said, that looks kind of quite good. So I just kind of slipped it into my hand, and then I went into the office and I basically photocopied his entire Filofax that was full of every single amazing superstar DJ at the time, talking like Paul Oakenfold, Bono's details were in there. There was just people's details that you could never imagine, like in a million years, which set me up for my later job real well, because I just became master blagger. And yeah, I mean, I haven't stopped. I ain't stopped, and I can't stop being like, Ligger of the Year. I'm just totally blagging everything wherever I can.
I love it. So that is like, I love the
Hustling,
fact that
babe.
some people are going to be listening going, what's the Filofax?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a mailing list, yeah, written in a book back in the day, yeah? Okay?
Yeah, honestly. Got to get them digits, innit?
Yeah, that is sick. So you literally nicked it. And I mean, and I take it you've never bumped into Pete Tong ever since. And
You know what? I bumped into his manager a few years after Eddie. He lives in
Yeah.
LA now. And I bumped into him and I was like, Eddie, I've got a massive confession to make. And he was like, what? And I said, I'm the one that stole Pete's Filofax, like back in the day. And he was like, my God, do you know how much trouble that caused? I put the Filofax back after he'd done his set. But the problem was, the big mistake I made was going around ringing people like Bono.
Yes.
That was the mistake,
What? And like, so you literally. So 1 second. So you literally like just said, fuck it, photocopied the whole thing, got it back. But you had these big names in front of you.
Some big ass
And
names from time, yeah.
when you saw Bono, you were just like, fuck it, I'm going to call
Fuck it,
him.
I'm going to call it. It was in Ireland. I figured, like, at the time, because of the charges of, like, telephone, like, calls, because remember the days when you used to have to use a landline? Oh, my God.
Yep. It's a phone that's plugged into a wall again for the guys that don't know what a Filofax is. Yeah, there you go.
And, I thought, it's a little bit cheaper than ringing America. I mean, this is the girl who rang Key for Sutherland when she was 15 as well. I've also, I am like I'm a serial idiot for this stuff. So ringing Bono seemed like cheaper than ringing a film set in LA.
Yeah.
So I rang Dublin, and Dublin was not bubbling at 2 a.m. Do you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, I was gonna say, what this conversation with Bono go like?
It was like, who the hell are you? Why are you ringing my residence? And what do you want? Are you a fan? Are you a fan or something? And that was the point where I said, no, I'm not a fan actually. I really like whatever band was around at the time. I really like them instead. Sorry.
Wow. And who?
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I was like, no, carry on, please carry on.
And like I just sort of had like massive egg on my face the first time, because what happens when you're like a salesperson is that the first time you get turned down flat and you feel like a fool, but the second time you come back stronger, you come back
Mm,
harder, and you just
mm.
think I ain't going to get pushed about. So I wanted to go like bigger. That guy Pete Tong has got some serious digits in that book, in
Who
that
else
filer
did
bag.
you give a call?
God, I remember ringing like literally everybody that was really famous in the sort of DJ times.
Yeah,
Like, the big superstar DJs, long before David Guetta and Steve Aoki.
yeah.
People like Paul Oakenfold, people like Fatboy Slim. I think I rang Fatboy Slim.
Norman. Good old You're right, Norm.
Yeah,
Right,
I
mate.
think I rang him and sort of, and he was unavailable to take the call at the time, because some of these DJs have got like those massive Motorola mobile phones that were around at the time, like that were like a house brick. And I
Yes.
remember ringing them, and they loved answering their cell phones because obviously the chicks really dug it. So, they pick up their sort of phone and, I'm in a DJ booth right now, babe, can't talk. Call you later. So I just did my like entire sales pitch like in one night, because I just felt like it was the middle of a rave. I actually did this during the middle of a rave. That's what's so ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
Everyone
absolutely
was raving
crazy.
in one room and I was calling Bono in the other.
You were
What
doing
an
work
idiot.
in the other. I love it. Were there any names in there that you were like, I'm definitely not going to call this.
Oh, yeah,
This is a
Tom
bit.
Hanks's number was in there.
You had the Hanks. Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would.
but
Oh,
back in those
yeah,
days, that
man.
guy weren't cool. He'd done like loads of films with Meg Ryan that your mum liked. And so nobody wanted to deal with the Hanks back then.
Whereas now you got
Whereas
Woody from
now, in it,
Story. You got Castaway,
he's the
Forrest Gump.
comeback
Oh,
kid,
he's
isn't
the
it?
guy, man. Yeah. Now Tom Hanks is probably one of my number one actors
I'm so
out there. I love
sorry.
it.
I'm so sorry that I didn't do this, Marcus. I'm so sorry.
Have you? I mean, have you still got Tom Hanks's number? I doubt it'll ring through now.
Do you know what? I'm a right hoarder of like numbers and information as well. So as we've gone through the digital age, I've been scanning those bad boys in. So yeah, I've probably got Tom Hanks' number. I've certainly still got Kiefer Sutherland's number.
Keith, good old Keith. I mean, he's another comeback king, isn't he? Really? I mean, 24. That brought him back into the
I
fold.
met him the night, I actually met the guy and told him the story the night before he started rolling on 24. I met him the night before in LA and sort of said, I was 15, I was an idiot, you were filming Young Guns, I'm sorry. I just have been waiting my whole life for someone to say, step into my office. Why? Because you're fucking fired. Because I just am that idiot that just goes around ringing Hollywood stars. Yeah.
But it's got you into a great
Loser.
position. I've got to say. I mean, look,
Yeah.
you're kicking ass. I mean, I've got some other juicy stories that I want to get to you in a second. But like, I want to talk more about what you're up to at the moment as well, though. So,
So
so
I've been,
real.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like after the Pete Tong debacle, I went and
yeah.
worked on like games because I felt like that was probably my strong suit. Though now looking back and discussing it with you, I feel like I should go back into artist management. To be honest, I went and worked in the games industry, and it was really kind of quite fledgling at the time because we've made that transition from playing on the Atari, the SNES, etc., and then we started moving towards the PlayStation and like finding good flagship games for the PlayStation. This is like way before the Xbox had even started to
Yeah,
get its pants on. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So the PlayStation were really only competing with the Japanese in the world marketplace because the Japanese had already made obviously the PlayStation because they're a Japanese company, and also the SNES and NES and Super Famicom, etc. So I started working in games then, and it was a really good time to sort of get involved because there were a lot of rock stars around, and there were a lot of people who I really respect and admire to this day who kind of gave me a leg up. And so,
mm.
like the fast forward to sort of 2020, and I've been working in the games industry for 20 something years now, and I now work as head of games development for a VR company. So
Hmm.
we're technically not a VR company because we serve like extended reality, but we're basically a replicator. What you put in one end of our machine comes out the other end of the machine as a digital twin. So we make
Right.
like digital twins. And it's super exciting because we're just pushing the edge of technology. And that reminds me so much of when I first started working in the games industry, because that's exactly what we were doing, pushing the edge of technology in a really amazing way. But now it's so much simpler kind of than it was. We don't have so many sort of challenges and problems to overcome that can't be overcome by, having a decent sort of supercomputer. The kind of supercomputers back in the day of making games like Tomb Raider or Final Fantasy VII, etc., these would have taken up a room. They're the equivalent of that ridiculous Motorola cell phone, house brick. But now, I mean, I was just reading the other day that you can build servers on Raspberry Pis now. I mean, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You can
Yeah.
carry servers around in your pocket. Come on.
I mean, I still give people a really simple kind of explanation, like to how crazy things have gone with just storage. So, like, I remember having like what did I have, like a 4 GB memory pen, and I was like, this has got enough room for everything for the rest of my life on this 4 gig. Do you know what I mean? I think even Bill Gates said that at one point. There's a quote of him saying that if you had a 32 MB drive, that would be able to carry everything you needed for your whole life. So like just the fact that storage is so enormous now. A few terabytes here or there you could easily fill up if you're doing a project,
I
and
know.
that's if you're like an amateur person filming some film. Do you know what I mean?
Or just with like playing the Final Fantasy VII remake. You're going
Right?
to need a terabyte of storage on your PlayStation to do that.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
PlayStation 5
Exactly.
isn't even thinking about, they're thinking about a terabyte storage minimum, I think.
Yeah. 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 100%.
We've
100%. And I think,
moved. We've moved
yeah.
so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's great. I
And you're
want more.
surfing the wave right at the front. Yeah, you do. So you're surfing the wave right at the front with So Real. And like you said, you put stuff in one side and stuff comes out the other. Have you got some examples that you can tell us about?
Yeah. So we're doing anything. So we're doing
Right.
this massive phase at the moment where we're scanning in 750 objects. So we're
Mm.
taking 750 everyday objects, and let me tell you, we've grabbed stuff that's really cool. Like we've grabbed a Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and we're going to scan it. We don't just scan the outside; we do the entire thing, and it comes out as a digital twin at the other end. We can go at the
Awesome.
moment up to a 4-ton truck. So over the course of the
Jeez.
next yeah, and that's the engine and the pistons and all that stuff working in full working physics order. So you will be seeing our stuff in Resident Evil, you'll be seeing our stuff in like Half-Life, you'll be seeing our stuff all over the place. We're going worldwide, baby.
That's what I want to hear. I love it. Are you also involved in something called Another World VR as well?
So
Right?
yeah, the guys at Another World are working with us to help us to overcome some of the sort of problems that we've got in terms of creating really fast demos, fast and not dirty demos, but fast and really polished demos that you can just do in Oculus.
Yeah.
Rather than having to say to people, this is VR, this is how it works. We know that like you guys get it. So
Yeah.
yeah, sitting there and sort of saying this is VR, that's the kind of thing for my mum and her Tom Hanks film. What I want to do is I want people to just pick up like an Oculus, a Vive, a PlayStation VR or whatever and just go, all right, I see, this is the kind of thing you're doing. We're also doing AR as well. So that is a big like future thing. In the next couple of years, you're going to see AR is going to explode onto the scene, and that's because Apple have put so much money into their latest device as well. Because you'll be able to just scan stuff on the street and put it straight into your phone.
Yeah, and we're starting to see that already. So, like, I love the fact with the kind of latest few generations of phones, we can pick something, produce it in AR, and like whether it's like a simple thing like a bit of IKEA furniture that you can kind of put in a corner and see how it'll look, or some of the more fun stuff you can just have like an elephant in your living room as well. That's just the beginning of what we can kind of do with AR,
Yeah,
right? And it's really
Google's
interesting
really
whenever I speak
doing good stuff, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Google are really cracking on with it, aren't they? So it's like it's really interesting to talk to somebody who works in VR, because I always like to ask them about how they think AR will factor into things in the future, because I think VR is really cool for an experience, but AR can be quite inclusive.
So another world VR like do really good those really good sort of survival experiences, horror. But what they're trying to do more that's really interesting is they're trying to bring more film into what it is that they're doing. So
Yeah.
rather than, I'm not going to make people feel sort of bad about going to the pictures and watching a movie, but you're going to get soon much more of an experience outside of the IMAX experience by just sticking on a headset and doing something like what Another World VR are doing, and that is building really good end-to-end experiences. Now Oculus have released this Oculus Touch. You'll be able to feel some of this stuff as well. I mean, I don't know what direction that's going in, to be honest with you, but I'd like to
we
think
all know
it's
where it's going to go. Crotch pieces are going to be here, I reckon, before the end of the year, especially with isolation. Listen, the isolation has forced people to work from home and use things like Zoom. I think crotch parts are going to come. I watched this show called Red Dwarf over here, a bit of sci-fi. I'm sure you're aware of it. And they have got the crotch attachments for VR. I think it's going to happen, It's going to happen.
Well, it's already happening in China. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
They do these like full-on VR films, art house films. Yeah, and you can basically get a lot of detail that you wouldn't ordinarily get.
We're here at How to Kill an Hour. We're pioneers of trying new things. So, when the technology comes to the UK, it's only right.
Give it a whirl, yo. Don't wait till it comes to the UK. Don't wait till it comes to the UK, Marcus. You'll be left out, This lockdown vibe is making everyone go back in time, not forward, Marty. You know what I'm saying?
Love it, absolutely love it. So yeah, in terms of VR, like where is the future? Where do you think the next big bite's going to be in terms of how VR and consoles are concerned? Because I feel like with the last gen of consoles, or the current gen, should we say, VR has worked its way in quite nicely. Not quite at the forefront, but I think things like PlayStation VR and Oculus really helped to kind of make VR more of a mainstream conversation.
I think the question is how these two things compare for you, the end user. You've obviously played PlayStation VR, and you've played on maybe all of the Oculuses. I don't know what plural is for that. Is it Oculi or what?
Oculi. I've played on the Oculis. I mean, they're a lot less clunky. Quick digression. Like the first Oculus, like you had to put up cameras and the headset, and you're wired. Now that you can be untethered, I feel like that's a much better situation to be in.
It's a big win, but I think, and I say this quite a lot, one of the killer problems that we've got is that people are just not developing fast enough for it. Do you know what I mean? They're not. They're not keeping it real enough. Everyone's still developing for like a console age, and the console age is really sort of coming apart a little bit now because the end user wants more uniformity in the platforms. We want to play on Steam on our TV, but also we want to play on PlayStation. Why do we have to choose like between the devices to play the games we really want to play? And so that's like a big pull. And I reckon that VR is really pushing that sort of standard where, if you go into Steam VR, you get the same experience that you get from PlayStation VR or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was just going to say that the addition of, I played it a few years ago, but it's releasing this year, and that's the Oculus Touch. Being able to have that 6 degrees of freedom, that's mad. That's like all kinds of mad. I played this game where you just basically go make like a cup of coffee. It was so simple, but I felt the cup. I felt the heat of the coffee. The only thing I didn't have was smell-o-vision. I mean, but it doesn't mean it's not coming. Yeah.
Stranger things have happened, you know what I mean?
But the feel is ridiculous. The more that we can live like in this simulated world, the more that people will want to develop for it. That's for sure. That's so obvious. Yeah. But someone's got to take a first step.
100%. I mean, for us, I'm always future gazing, and I think during this time, I've not really had a bit of downtime during lockdown. In fact, I've been as busy as ever, but it's made me think how we have the technology here, for example, here at How to Kill an Hour, right, where we can still pretty much sound like you and I aren't, on the phone. You're going to say, this sounds way better. And this feels like a much more personal conversation. I mean, we
Yeah.
could also have flicked on Zoom so I could see your face. But I'm thinking future gazing wise, like in terms of, using AR and VR scanning, like if we are going to have more lockdowns, it's more likely that I'll be able to have a quick meeting in a virtual room and see you and have a drink, have a coffee in my hand and have a chat with you and have kind of these faux physical interactions, not because we need to, but because we want to. Because if I have to stay in my house, having a weekly meeting or a daily meeting with somebody where I can actually see them and be in a room with them, that'd be great. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's just a bit of connection for 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think there's only one real organization that's really trying to make that stuff happen. Obviously, in this time of the coronavirus lockdown,
Yeah.
people are really scrabbling fast to try and find solutions. But I'm afraid it's the Zook that's really pushing the boundaries of what we can do in terms of having that connection. And
Yeah.
he did the right thing a few years ago by buying up Oculus and really driving that technology to its bleeding edge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
each time we have a bleeding edge, we go and find another, and we just keep going and finding it. And the big steps that we're going to make in this industry are going to be ways that we can, like you and I, can have that connection to things without having the uncanny valley. You know what the uncanny valley is, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that bit where
Yeah.
your brain sort of tells you that it's not real.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so your brain
Yeah.
sort of goes, ha ha, that's not real. So you're not really going to believe in this. But as soon as we've nailed that uncanny valley, people's just going to fall in like lemmings in that amazing game
Yeah.
from the 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for the day that I'm podcasting with you, but it feels like we're in the same room together, and that means we can share that with audiences as well. We can have these interactions, and
Yeah, because
instead of just having to listen to this podcast,
you're missing out on my amazing tattoo
face,
and my
your tats.
NWA t-shirt that I've gotten today and my incredible pink hair. So I feel like
Oh,
you're big missing out here.
oh man, damn. We'll have to make sure next time we get the cameras fired
Yeah,
up and we're good to go
defo.
as well. Right. So another story that I've heard about you. Actually, I've seen you got a few books out as well. Tell us about those first. Actually,
Oh,
you're right
thanks.
as well. What don't you do? Jeez.
Yeah. Well, I like to keep busy. You've got to, I mean, if you're going to go around sort of thumbing through the pages of Pete Tong's Filofax, you got to keep finding ways to keep them
Yeah.
fingers occupied. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I've written a few books. I write crime novels
Oi, oi.
just for shits and giggles.
Prince of Tokyo. I've seen
Prince
here
of
on Amazon.
Tokyo was based on a bunch of really weird VR type dreams that I had while I was working on some VR stuff. So I just wrote a collection of short stories. Yeah, when I'm not doing the games and making cool VR products, I write books. Yeah, and
Excellent.
go to gigs. Yeah,
Gigging. That's how you like to kill time. Yeah. How
yeah.
you gigging at the moment? Because I went to a Zoom party on the weekend. There was
Well,
like
I did
300
that.
of us in a room.
How was it? Was it good?
It was really good. What they did is the host, so it was a birthday party. So what was really good is the person whose actual birthday it was hosting the party, but they shared the hosting with somebody who wasn't as drunk as him because like an hour in, he forgot how to use Zoom. And he's a young man. He's very tech savvy, right? But he just didn't. His facilities were failing him. So what we did is everybody came in and was muted automatically. There was a waiting room as well. You came into the party, everybody got muted, and there was a DJ who was live streaming. There were two DJs actually live streaming, like they were going for like half an hour each. And then like they'd once in a while they'd stop the music and they'd put somebody on spotlight. They'd make their picture big and they'd give the birthday boy a wish, have a quick shot with him. and then we'd carry on partying for a little while. So it was like when somebody came into the room, you'd hear the little ding dong when they came in Zoom. They'd go on the big screen and everyone would be like, "Way!" And then they'd carry on. And like, you know, we had the typical, it was kind of like a family house party. You kind of had the typical like drunk uncle that would come on and do a little speech for like 45 years. You'd have, you know, his mum popped up and she did a massive shot of brandy and everyone was like, "Way!" Yeah, it was nice. It was pretty cool. I mean, obviously didn't get to shake a leg, but it was nice just kind of sitting down and kind of enjoying some kind of a party vibe with somebody.
It'd be so good though if like on whichever like platform you choose to do this stuff, whether they could sort of, you know, muck about a bit with background noise, because I think that's like a big problem unless you're actually standing over a mic or you've got a boom mic over your head. You're going to have like major problems trying to be heard over the sounds of people going, "Way!" on a Zoom call. But I did that Hacienda rave a couple of weeks ago because they were raising money for the Greater Manchester lockdown key worker type thing, which was really nice. But I went for pure nostalgia, really just to see if, you know, Pete Tong wants his Filofax back, I guess. But it was awesome because there were live sets. So Orbital did a live set.
Yes,
you know, and for people who don't know who Orbital are, they're a pretty seminal techno sort of house band, for want of a better word. And they've got a massive following even still. So that was really nostalgic for a lot of people because, you know, usually you've got to pay millions to go and see Orbital in concert. And this was free for a donation. So it was really nice to be able to, and I think that's what this lockdown thing's about, you know, going to these parties, doing this online stuff, going to these raves. It's all about inclusion. We've got a client in at Soville who they do predominantly raves at ski resorts. So they're doing a ski resort rave using a piece of sushi that we did for them. So we basically scanned in a piece of sushi, but because we can go inside the sushi, you can see every single piece of rice that's inside the sushi. So they said, "Oh, that sounds really awesome. Can we use it for our rave?" And I was like, "Okay, let's have a look at your design and see what it is you want to do." And sure enough, they're just going to cover the wall with the inside of the sushi so that people are actually raving inside a piece of sushi. So you are actually the cucumber in the maki roll. Check it out. It's going to be nuts, yo. Next spring at a ski resort near you.
Oh, fingers crossed it all goes to plan. I'd love to see that. Yes, I'll be all over that.
I am actually.
What did you do last night? How was your night last night? Well, I was raving inside a bit of sushi, mate. Don't know about you.
I'll send you the sushi, like, for you to have a bit of a play with.
Definitely.
And we're using machine learning as well, so that we're able to sort of give you the perfect piece of sushi. So if you don't want the maki roll, you can choose the type of sushi that you actually want and the covering on the top. We're like the Subway now, aren't we?
You are. Have it your way.
of 3D objects.
I love that, man. I love that. All right. So before we get out of here, just the last thing I want to talk to you about is I've seen that you used to do PR for the Osbournes. This is written down. Is there truth in this?
Yeah, there's some truth in this. So I guess I went over to LA and I had a really amazing time. I spent some time like attached to the military in the UK and in Germany. And then afterwards, you kind of have to do a sort of resettlement course where you sort of say, here's what I want to do next. And I went off and said, I actually want to do games, music. But of course, computer games at the time was a bit sort of like, what? what do you want to go and do that for? And obviously the gender role situation in the past as well was quite sort of weird to get over because, you know, having somebody who is of the female variety, saying that they want to work in the video games during that era was a bit like, what? I don't think so. You want to be a hairdresser? I was like, no, I do not. I will be a tattoo artist rather than a hairdresser. So I kind of found my way through writing, really, and I wrote like a series of articles for magazines that I really liked, mostly skateboarding magazines and heavy metal magazines. I love me a bit of death metal, let me tell you, and so I sort of worked on a festival that was based in the UK at the time, which is called Ozfest, and it moved to the US, and it was run by the Osbournes. And it was at a time when they were transitioning from being the world's number one rock star family to being the world's number one MTV rock star family. And yeah, I did like a great deal of PR for them and spent a lot of time in their company. And, you know, when I left, I had like a really good relationship with especially Kelly, because I used to drive her to school when she was little and all that kind of good stuff. She is awesome, and so is the entire family. But I'm sure you're kind of thinking to yourself, are they really like that as you see them on the TV?
Yeah.
And the answer is, yeah, they are. But isn't that what makes like us great? Because us British folk have got this incredible knack of being crazy and just sort of like dusting it off, like whatever. That's just us. Deal with it.
Yep.
It's just what we're like. Yeah, so you think we're eccentric? So?
Yep, we are. Yeah.
And that's how it was. And I loved it. Yeah, every minute of it.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like I could sit here and talk to you for hours. You've done so much. I feel like it's such a wide range of attachments to the military. Nick and Pete Tong's Filofax working.
It all comes back to that. Come on, Mark.
Yeah, I've also read that you wrote Transformers storylines.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah. First woman, like really to do that.
I mean, that's amazing, man. Like that was one of my favorites. One of my favorite bits of IP. I love Transformers.
I do as well, and I've got a really great story if you want to hear it about a convention that I went to. There's a guy who does the voice of Optimus Prime called Peter Cullen. He is the god of... He's just Optimus Prime. He did the original film. He is a great bloke. He does not take himself too seriously, but kind of picture the scene. I go to this panel to go and talk about stuff and things. And then in the evening, we all have to go out for a meal because people are like VIP ticket holders and want to sit down and talk to the voice of Optimus Prime or Shockwave or whatever.
Yeah.
And I look over the room and I swear to God, I was as sober as a judge like that night because I got an early flight the next day.
Yeah.
I looked across the room and Optimus Prime had some drunk guy in a headlock. And he didn't even business about it. He just dragged this guy. This guy was obviously like hitting on somebody or whatever. And Optimus Prime just put him directly in a headlock, dragged him out to the edge of this massive room that we were all eating in, and just basically booted this kid up the arse and kicked him out. And I was like, that is how that dude got cast as Optimus Prime. He's kind, but he's firm, isn't he? He's firm.
So you have seen Optimus Prime beat up somebody in real life. Do you know how privileged you are? Man,
the guy is hench. He's like he's like 78 or something, maybe a little bit more. Man, dem got some serious muscles. He's like Vince McMahon, but just more friendly.
Oh man, he is the absolute, like, his voice. I don't know, like, I just always think that if I lived in a house with him, imagine getting a telling off from Peter. Like, I'd feel like if he told me to go to my room now as an adult, I'd be like, yes, sir. I'll go straight to my room, tidy it up.
The thing that he gets the most requests for, which I find is really sad, is, can you record my voicemail message, please? Seriously, Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime. I don't know. I would have Optimus Prime doing everything from the coronavirus information.
Could you imagine if they had him doing the Oh man, if they had him doing the
protect
public
the
address,
NHS.
Yes, they just had him to do the top line, just like protect the NHS.
Yeah,
that would everybody be like, yes, you know what?
Yeah.
If he was like, stay at home, we'd be like, yeah, we'll stay at home. Anything Optimus to help you guys. You get me? They need to start calling COVID just the Decepticons.
Because that's what it is, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I had the best. I had the best time working on Transformers, and one of the reasons why was just because you have got so much choice, and a lot of the stuff that I worked on actually ended up in the final movies. You know, the Michael Bay movies. So a lot of the storylines, like The Last Night, is based on a storyline that I did for Transformers Universe. Yeah.
That's wicked.
So that
What's
was
it like seeing
wicked.
your stories go to the big screen then?
It's
How does
big.
that feel?
It feels really nice. It feels good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, a girl who nicks filofaxes from Pete Tong is not doing too bad.
I'll tell you what, you've done well. You've done well. It just shows a bit of time in the military, a bit of a military attachment, and then crack on and do that.
How to Kill an Hour is like way more boundary breaking and current and relevant than anything any of us guests have ever done. Seriously, it's a brilliant podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. We're just out here trying to look for ways to kill time. How are you killing time at the moment then?
I'm killing time doing a heck of a lot of work. I'm trying at the moment to get to really sort of, you know, game studios are working. They're doing a heck of a lot of stuff. They've got to, because they've got like deadlines they've got to meet. But it's difficult times. I'm really passionate about getting things like museums online and stuff. I really want to see what we can do with, I don't know, the National Video Game Museum and having that online. Or, because I don't know if you've been to the National Video Game Museum in Sheffield, it's absolutely incredible. Or the Aerospace Museum in Leicester, you know, the Space Museum. There's so much that we can be doing during this lockdown time that needs to be unforgettable, rather than having this moment in time where we come out of it, the other side, we're back on the tube or whatever, and we've just completely forgotten about the last 6 months. So
yeah, that's very true. That's very true, because museums are getting zero footfall at the moment, and a lot of them are self-supporting, or they've got a little bit of support from the government, but they're not seen as a priority, you know, at the moment. So that's definitely something we should look into.
I'm also going to be waiting for my Master P call up so that I can create some objects for Master P's like next video. I don't know. That could happen.
He's got the kind of money where you can be like, can you just create my whole house, please?
Well, because he just puts like random tanks in his videos, right? So I'm just waiting for the call up.
Master P's money is long. It is very, very long. I think. Listen, if he hooks up with you, with your imagination and his dollar, Jesus, I don't know, it'd be crazy. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And also like for just like doing this, like, you know, at quite short notice as well. Like, you know, I heard about you like a couple of days ago that you were available, and then like the fact that we could put this together is a real privilege. And I look forward to seeing what you guys at So Real kind of crack out over the next kind of 12 months, where this whole VR AR conversation is becoming way more necessary. Where can we find you online as well, by the way?
Our website is soreal.ch. But you can find me like eating up the Twitter and just generally being a gobshite at the /electric geisha. That's my handle for literally everything from Final Fantasy VII tattoos to 3D objects like sushi that you can rave in. So, you know, stay tuned.
I want to see the sushi.
I'm sending it to you, mate. As soon as we get off the call, I'm sending it your way. I'm excited. I'm amped.
But all right. Well, thank you very much for killing some time with us. You can find us here at How to Kill an Hour, at How to Kill an Hour on all social medias. And I'm Marcus Bronzy, MarcusBronzy. We've also got a nice closed Facebook group where we have conversations about ways that we like to kill time. If you can check those all out, that'd be great. Thank you for killing some time with us.
My pleasure.